So what films of 2024 do I think are going to be nominated for the Best Picture Oscar? Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender, and the time has finally come. I've given you my predictions and screenplay and the acting categories and director. Today, I am giving you my early Oscar predictions for Best Picture. We have 10 slots. Which 2024 films are getting in at the 97th Academy Awards? Let me begin with A through E. A, B, C, D, E. Anora is absolutely happening. Anora, I think, could win Best Picture. I think it's going to be in the top 3 slots for sure. Like, it might not win the Academy Award for Best Picture at the end of the day, but it's going to be competitive. I think it can win some things this season. That movie is so frickin' extraordinary in so many ways. It is my choice for the best film of 2024. Watching Anora at the Toronto Film Festival was just pure bliss. Every minute of that film, the performances, the direction, the editing, the cinematography, the screenplay, the music, everything works in Anora to such an impeccable degree. I know some people are kind of cold on the movie. Not everybody loves it. But boy, I think it is something else. I think Academy members are going to love it. I think it could win things at the Oscars, including maybe Best Picture. In a field of 10, it's absolutely getting in. So that's A. B is The Brutalist by Brady Corbett, starring Adrian Brody and Guy Pearce and Felicity Jones. One of the most amazing cinema achievements of 2024. I cannot imagine that film missing. I think The Brutalist could also win picture. It's pretty cold. It's 3.5 hours long. It's not going to be a film for everybody. I could see even more than Anora, some voters, some Academy members saying, I admire the performances, but it does get very dark in its themes, in its subject matter in the second half. I could see some people saying it's a little too much. I also had some issues with the very end of the movie. It's why I couldn't give it a full 10 out of 10. I gave it a 9 because I thought the last 5 to 10 minutes, it didn't work as well as I was hoping. I'm going to watch the movie again. Maybe it'll be better the second time. But yeah, The Brutalist isn't a perfect film. I don't know if it's necessarily going to win Best Picture everywhere. It might not be that movie this year at this moment in time. Like, the Academy might want to go for a movie that's a little bit more populist, a little easier to digest in a way. But The Brutalist is absolutely getting into Best Picture, and I think it's also getting into director, actor, supporting actress. The Brutalist is going to do well in its number of nominations. The question is it going to win a bunch of things? That remains to be seen. Now, the letter C is for Conclave, of course. Conclave is also getting into picture. That film could win. Depending on how that movie does at SAG, at BAFTA, I have this sense right now that Conclave could be that consensus choice. The movie like Spotlight, let's say, that it doesn't win in a bunch of categories all over the place, but it's the one movie this season everybody can agree they like. Not necessarily love. I don't see too many people hating Conclave. I can't imagine there's many Academy voters who would rank it at the bottom of their list. Even if it's not number 1 or number 2, Conclave is going to be in the top 5, I think, for pretty much everybody. So watch out for Conclave. That could win Best Picture at the Oscars, especially, I would say, if it takes SAG Ensemble. We'll see what happens there a few weeks before the Oscars. Letter D goes to Dune Part Two. I don't think that film has a chance in hell of winning Best Picture anywhere. Maybe a Critics' Prize or something will surprise us. But I do think Dune Part 2 in Best Picture is happening. The first Dune got in 3 years ago. I think the sequel is better, more immersive, even richer in character detail, in the production design, in the storytelling. It's really quite something. even though it came out way back in early March, I do think that film is hanging on and people still really do appreciate it. It's one of the most beloved like blockbuster films of 2024, to be sure. So I think especially over like Gladiator 2, which didn't like meet expectations, I would say, in terms of the quality of the film, I think over Gladiator 2, the big sequel that's getting into the Oscars in Best Picture this year is going to be Dune Part Two. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. It's not going to win, but it's going to make it, absolutely. And letter E goes to Emilia Perez. I do think that's happening, even though I can't see it winning Best Picture pretty much anywhere. I think it's going to show up, especially in lineups that have 10 slots. There's enough passion, enough interest in Emilia Perez from awards voters and people who really respond to those performances, especially. It's a very unique film this year, so I think that gets into the Oscars and Best Picture. Of the 5 films I have mentioned so far in this video, if there was a movie that could miss, it is Emilia Perez. I have said this before, like I didn't love the movie. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I admired it more than I liked it or loved it. If there was going to be a big Oscar surprise, like on nominations morning, it would be Emilia Perez missing in Best Picture. Let's say it still gets into actress, supporting actress, like it gets into some technical categories, maybe even director, but it misses picture. I could see that happening if the passion like fell off enough. I think if it was a field of 5 movies, I would be worried for Emilia Perez. I don't think it would make it into a field of 5, but with 10, I think it's safely, if not in slot 5, like 6 or 7 or maybe 8. I do think it's in. I think it's going to do very well at SAG. That's going to help it. I do think Emilia Perez is a movie actors are going to go to bat for. They're really going to adore that film. So yeah, Emilia Perez gets into Best Picture at the Oscars. So that's A, B, C, D, E. Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez. Next, of course, is Wicked. Wicked is 100% getting an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. Some people think it can win. I am not one of those people. Like, it just won Best Picture at National Board of Review. I put out a tweet about it, and it's gotten some attention. Like, there's been some attention when I said something about, like, do we give Wicked, like, a win for Best Picture? I don't know about that. I very much enjoy that movie. It's great on so many levels. I just don't know if it's like the movie of the year. Like over Anora and The Brutalist, like Wicked doesn't tell a complete story. It's half the movie. So it feels weird to me to award that like Best Picture when we all know the second part is coming a year from now. So like, give it a nomination. That is totally fine with me. I think it's worthy of getting into Best Picture. Like the performances by Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are out of this world spectacular. Like this movie can get into picture. I think it's absolutely making it in at the Oscars there. I just like to win Best Film of the Year. I am not personally on that bandwagon, but I know many of you are, and that's great. Number 7, I would say slot 7 in Best Picture at the Oscars goes to Sing Sing. And in some ways, like, we have talked about this a little bit, like when I had the Film Drunk on in our SAG predictions video, like he brought up a good point. Like, it is totally possible that Sing Sing wins the Oscar for Best Picture. If that movie comes on really strong, wins a couple big prizes at the Golden Globes, wins Best Cast at SAG, and that ensemble on the stage has an amazing moments, the way that like Coda winning Best Ensemble a few years back, like they had a moment, Troy Kotzer winning, that movie started building up steam. That could happen for Sing Sing. Even though I have Sing Sing like, you know, a little bit lower, I would say, like more like slot 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or something, I think it's guaranteed a Best Picture nomination. But it is the one like smaller film, I'd say, that has a chance to build up that steam and start winning some big prizes and be in contention to win the Oscar for Best Picture, I can see it. Like, that could happen. Like, as of now, I wouldn't put it in the top 2 or 3. But we shall see what happens at the Globes, at Critics' Choice, and especially SAG. Like, watch out for Sing Sing. I feel like most people have those 7 movies in their Best Picture predictions. You'd be kind of silly to not at this point. Like, those 7 are pretty well set. So what gets into slot 8, 9, and 10? I'm feeling pretty good about slots 8 and 9. 10 is the one where I'm getting a headache. Number 10 is where I have like 5 movies floating around that slot. There's one more obvious choice, I would say, especially now having seen the AFI top 10. Like, there is a movie that very well may get into slot 10, and this is easier than I'm thinking. Like, I'm overthinking this. I don't need to go for these other choices. Like, just go for that 10th movie that got into AFI. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that easy. First up, let's go through slots 8 and 9. Slot 8, I do think goes to A Complete Unknown. Sight Unseen, I haven't seen that film yet. But since it started getting screened a few weeks ago, there wasn't like intense passion for the movie overall. Like, some people were saying the performances are great, the movie is just good, but I haven't seen too much hate toward the film itself. Like, too many mixed reviews. Like, most people, even if they don't love A Complete Unknown, they're very much liking it, appreciating it. And I feel like in recent days especially, there's been a lot of admiration for the film A Complete Unknown. I've seen like on the Twitter timeline and some reviews I've looked at, like, people are warming up to the movie, looking at it as a major Best Picture contender. I feel like it has a very good chance of getting into Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, maybe Supporting Actress. Like, it's not going to get into Director. I think it has a pretty solid chance in Screenplay. I just feel like, again, in a field of 10, there's going to be enough love for A Complete Unknown that's going to make it in. I think that's happening. I think everybody really adores Bob Dylan. People love James Mangold movies. I'm feeling pretty good putting that in slot 8. And then in slot 9, we go all the way back to Sundance last January. A Real Pain. A Real Pain has really come on strong the last few weeks. People love that movie. They absolutely adore the Kieran Culkin performance. He might sweep in Best Supporting Actor. We don't know yet. He's doing very well at these early critics groups and things. Like, I've seen Culkin win, 3 or 4 things already. And we're very early in award season. So yeah, Culkin is going to do well this season. He's going to win some big prizes. I don't know if ultimately he'll win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. But like, I think the film gets into original screenplay for Jesse Eisenberg. And in this field of Best Picture contenders, it's one of the most entertaining. A Real Pain. Like, it just breezes by. It's so much fun to watch. You don't have to think too hard, in A Real Pain. Like, it goes down very smooth, great performances, great writing. I mean, it wouldn't be the shock of the century if A Real Pain missed in picture. Let's say it only got into supporting actor and original screenplay, and that was it. Like, that would make sense, but I feel like with 10 slots, like, I don't even think it's slot number 10. I think A Real Pain is in slot number 9. Like, it's just happy to be there. It's never going to win Best Picture. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, outside of a critics group or something, that would be very surprising to me. I think it's getting in at the Oscars in Best Picture. So that's 9. Those 9 films I'm feeling pretty good about. Like, A Complete Unknown and A Real Pain could miss, but like, there's not too much competition. There's not 10, 15 other movies that I could easily see get into Best Picture. I think there's like one clear, obvious choice that could take that final slot. And there's like 2 or 3 other movies I'm thinking about seriously. Before I get to those final 3, like really big contenders, I would say, for the final slots, let me go through a few other titles like I would love to get into picture that maybe has like the slightest chance, starting with Challengers, which is my 3rd favorite film of 2024. I think that movie is spectacular. I think it deserves to get into Best Picture at the Oscars, at the Globes, at Critics' Choice, at BAFTA, everywhere. I think that movie is worthy. I feel like because it's a sports film, there's like a sexy vibe to it. It came out in April. Unless they really push that thing, like really push that movie hard, sadly, I don't see Challengers getting into Best Picture at the Oscars at the end of the day. But boy, if that happens, like if Challengers got the 10th slot, I will freak the F out. Like I will go absolutely berserk because that would be so well deserved. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. My second favorite film of the year is Baby Girl, and I think that movie is worthy of Best Picture. Now, even more than Challengers, I would say, like that is no shot of getting into this category at the Oscars. Like, I think the big, like, surprise would be Baby Girl just barely makes it into original screenplay, along with, of course, Best Actress for Nicole Kidman. I think Kidman is pretty close to a lock for Best Actress at the Oscars. I know a lot of people are still not predicting her. A lot of people have her in slot 6 or 7 in actress. And I would say she's not in slot 5 for me. She's in 4. I think Kidman is getting the Oscar nomination. Can the movie get into picture? No, that's not going to happen. I mean, if there were 15 slots, I don't think Baby Girl would make it in. But again, it's one of my favorite films of the year. I would love to see it happen. Time Magazine named Baby Girl the best movie of 2024. So there's that. That was frickin' awesome. So well deserved. So very cool. The Wild Robot. Can The Wild Robot get into Best Picture, not just animated feature? I was thinking in like late September, early October, that had a chance. I think The Wild Robot should get into Best Picture. It's number 5 in my top 10 of the year. I just adore that movie so much. I saw it twice in theaters. I don't see anything twice in theaters anymore. But The Wild Robot is such a spectacular animation achievement. After I saw it for the first time at the Toronto Film Festival, I had to take my nephews when I got home. Like, I was like, you guys have to see this movie on the biggest screen possible in town. And we just had the greatest time. I feel like in some ways, The Wild Robot was even more emotionally affecting the second time. And so I still think it's winning the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Like, I don't want to be proven wrong about that. I hope that happens. Like, I hope it wins over Inside Out 2. In Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, yeah, I just think there are enough titles kind of in the mix here. I don't think that's going to happen. Same thing with Saturday Night, which is also in my top 10 films of the year. I completely forgot to mention that in my SAG predictions video as an alternate for Best Cast. I still think that could sneak in at SAG in Best Ensemble. That could happen. And I love that movie. It's so much fun. Those performances, the screenplay, the dialogue, the way that movie moves. Like, it goes so fast. When it ended, I felt like it had only been on for 1 hour, and that film had been playing for almost 2 hours. I couldn't believe it. It just flies by. Unfortunately, I feel like the movie didn't have the best rollout, like it didn't do very well at the box office. I'm not hearing much about Saturday Nights now, so I think it will show up here and there this award season. Maybe it gets in somewhere at the Oscars, like screenplay or something, but Best Picture seems to be off the table for Saturday Night as of now. 2 other films I saw at TIFF that I still feel like could be circling that 10th place slot I'm Still Here, and The Piano Lesson. I feel like the less likely of the two is The Piano Lesson. I just don't think enough people really love that movie. It could get in at SAG in Best Cast. As the Film Drunk said in that video, that's what he's going with over Conclave. I'm not ready to predict that, but I could see it happening. I mean, it's an August Wilson play. The entire ensemble in that film is pretty impressive, so it could get in at SAG, but I don't see a Best Picture nomination happening at the Oscars for The Piano Lesson. I'm Still Here, on the other hand, I wouldn't say is 100% out of it. That would be a great international pick for Best Picture. It was the only standing ovation I was a part of at TIFF. The only movie I saw there that week where the entire room just like stood up at the end applauding the director Walter Salles. And like, there's a lot of passion for that film. I think Fernanda Torres is still in the running for a surprise Best Actress nomination. That could happen. And picture is not off the table. If there's enough people really going to bat for that movie, I wouldn't predict it right now. I think it's probably more like slot like 12, 13, 14 at the moment. But you never know. Let's see if I'm Still Here gets some nominations before the Oscars. There's two more international films, All We Imagine as Light and The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I have received screeners for both of these films in the last like 48 hours, so I will be watching them very shortly. I'm hearing amazing things. Both films did very well at the Cannes Film Festival last May, and I'm hearing rumblings like one of those two movies could potentially surprise in Best Picture at the Oscars. More so The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Like, I'm hearing that might very well get into director. We'll see about picture. I don't really see that at the moment. Like, I could see a surprise director nomination. Picture, like, I don't know. I feel like those two international films might just fall through the cracks. But I'm very excited to watch both All We Imagine as Light and The Seed of the Sacred Fig in the days to come. Gladiator 2, for most of 2024, sight unseen, I had in the Best Picture lineup. I was like, the first movie won Best Picture. Now we have a field of 10, not 5, as long as it's just good. It's not a train wreck. It's not a terrible movie. Now, I watched the film. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. In the weeks that have followed, I have not been thinking about Gladiator 2 at all. At this moment, I think Gladiator 2 is going to fall off. It's going to fade away enough to where in the top categories, I think it only gets into Best Supporting Actor for Denzel Washington. I don't think it's getting into Best Actor for Paul Mescal, Best Director for Ridley Scott. I don't even think Best Picture is going to happen. It still could slip in there. It still could get the 10th place slot, mainly because there is such admiration and love for the first film, which won Best Picture, right? It's like, it's tricky because the first movie won. So it's like, really, this sequel, which I personally thought was better than the first movie. I know I'm an outlier there. I mean, it could get in. I think there are a couple other movies that have a better chance of breaking into that 10th place slot. I am not predicting that Gladiator 2 will receive a Best Picture Oscar nomination. We are now down to 3 final films. 3 movies that have a very good shot of getting into Best Picture. The question is, which one is it going to be? I do think it's going to be one of these 3. That's what I'm feeling right now. And we have to see where the wind blows over the next few weeks to see how these movies do at Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and SAG and BAFTA. The first one is September 5th. September 5th feels like a spotlight. It feels like the kind of movie that enough people are going to like, if not necessarily love, that it can break into Best Picture at the Oscars. even if it doesn't do very well across the board, let's say it only gets into screenplay, one technical category, and picture, and that's it. Like, I mean, as we found with Women Talking, that movie only got into screenplay and picture and nothing else. Your movie doesn't have to get into like 4 or 5 categories to break into picture. Like, sometimes you just need enough passion, enough people voting for this movie for it to quietly break into that 10th place slot. That could happen for September 5th. I'm hoping to see it soon. I've heard it's only 90 minutes, like it's pretty short, but like it has a really good cast, and I've seen some good things, some good notices about that movie since it started premiering at the festivals in September. So we shall see. I'm like, I thought about predicting that yesterday. I was thinking slot number 10, like the smart choice there, the safe choice in a way, is September 5th. But I'm also like, are enough people seeing that? Is there enough love for that movie? I'm really close right now in these early predictions for Best Picture, but I'm not going with September 5th. The other really smart choice is Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys has done very well so far this award season. It's won some prizes in Best Director already. It showed up in the AFI Top 10 list. Like, along with the first 9 films I'm predicting to get into the Oscars in Best Picture, that other slot went to Nickel Boys. So it could be 10 for 10, like the AFI list, like goes right into the Oscars. Nickel Boys is a very interesting, unique, experimental piece of cinema. I have to be honest with you, I watched my digital screener a few nights ago. I did not really care for Nickel Boys. I admire it on a technical level, like it's beautifully made, it's well acted, it's very striking on numerous levels. Like, talk about originality, the way that movie is told through first-person point of view. It's unlike anything I've seen before, so I definitely give it points for that. I just didn't think that Nickel Boys really drew me into the narrative very well. All I did for 2 hours and 20 minutes was notice the filmmaking. I could never stop thinking about the point of view. I couldn't just allow the movie to work as a story. I know that's not happening for many people. For many viewers, they are instantly immersed into that world, and they love Nickel Boys, calling it a masterpiece. I get that. I get why people love it. I'm going to be an outlier on that one. But I want to make it really clear. If Nickel Boys does well on Oscar nominations morning, it gets into picture and director and a variety of categories, I'm not going to be mad. Like, on a stylistic level, on a technical level, I was very impressed with that film. So I'm perfectly happy with it doing well this award season. I'm not going to be crying in the corner like, Nickel Boy. Like, no. Like, there's a lot of great stuff in that movie, so I'm all good. I'm just like, will there be enough Academy members who really go for Nickel Boys? It's kind of a difficult watch at times. It's very experimental. I mean, there are long dialogue scenes where the person talking is staring directly at the camera, at the viewer of the film. And I wonder, like, I think it can do well with critics and certain prizes along the way, but at the Oscars, are there going to be enough Academy members who really love Nickel Boys, like, as a movie to get it into picture? In some ways, I feel like it has a better shot of getting into director than picture, even though director only has 5 slots. It's such a remarkable, like, directorial achievement. But as a movie, like, I personally found some issues with the storytelling. So, like, it could very well get into Best Picture. That's probably the smart prediction for that final slot. But I'm not going with Nickel Boys. I'm not going with September 5th. I am swinging for the fences, finally, after like 2 months of early Oscar prediction videos. I usually tease this film at the end. Like, well, maybe it could get it. No, I'm not going there for screenplay, for supporting actress, for director. But as we come near the end of this early Oscar prediction series, here in the big top prize, Best Picture, I am finally predicting for that 10th place slot, The Substance. I think The Substance is going to get into Best Picture at the Oscars. I think there is enough passion for this movie. I think enough people are just going nuts for The Substance that it's going to slip in. I'm still nervous about certain elements, the body horror of it all, those last 20 minutes. It's a long movie. It's not like the most crowd-pleasing film of the year, to be sure. But I just feel like in a field of 10 in Best Picture, even at the Oscars, they don't always go for the out there kind of movie. This would be kind of unprecedented in a way. A film like The Substance getting into Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It is a big swing. I could easily see it missing for Nickel Boys or September 5th or even Gladiator 2. And that very well might happen. But even if at the end of the day it missed Best Actress, it missed Best Supporting Actress, there is a part of me that thinks The Substance has enough love and passion that it can break into Best Picture. I think it's possible. I'm not going to say I'm confident about this, but I don't know. That movie has been having a moment since September, and I'm feeling it. I think it can happen. I'm not going to be shocked if it misses. I'll be like, yeah, okay, makes sense. But what if The Substance gets into Best Picture at the Oscars? I am going to freak out. You will want to watch my Oscar nominations reaction because I'm going to be running all around the room. I'm going to be just screaming my ass off. I will be so excited. Boy, I hope that happens. I hope The Substance overperforms, gets into 3, 4, 5 slots. I really hope it doesn't just get into makeup. I hope it does better than that. And I do think even if it missed most of the other top categories, The Substance can still get in to Best Picture. So, to repeat, let me give you my 10 early Oscar predictions for Best Picture at the 97th Academy Awards. They are Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part Two, Emilia Perez, Wicked, Sing Sing, A Complete Unknown, A Real Pain, and The Substance. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what 10 films are you predicting to get into Best Picture at the Oscars, and I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.